What's going on, YouTube? Uberman here. More horrible news, and this couldn't have come at a worse time. Not that there's a good time for bad news, especially like this, but Uber just released the end of its 180 days of change today, and after I did a video about that, boom, within an hour of me seeing this headline, I decided to do this video. And this is bad news. This is going to be a lengthy article. I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. We're not going to skip anything on this one because this is a big deal. The title from Bloomberg says Uber paid hackers to delete stolen data on 57 million people. And we're going to get into some interesting statistics in here. Hackers stole the personal data of 57 million customers and drivers from Uber Technologies, Inc., a massive breach that the company concealed for more than a year. This week, the ride-hailing company ousted Joe Sullivan, chief security officer, and one of his deputies for their roles in keeping the hack under wraps. Compromised data from the October 2016 attack included names, email addresses, and phone numbers of 50 million Uber riders around the world, the company told Bloomberg on Tuesday. The personal information of about 7 million drivers were accessed as well, including some 600,000 U.S. driver's license numbers. No social security numbers, credit card details, trip location info, or other data were taken, Uber said. Now that's interesting. 7 million drivers were accessed. 7 million, just to give you an idea. Now, I'm sure that's not representing how many drivers are actually active and on board, but 7 million and 600,000 in the United States. I would say that that number, around 600,000 in the U.S., is probably pretty damn close to how many actual drivers are in the United States right now. So it's really interesting to see that number. At the time of the incident, Uber was negotiating with U.S. regulators investigating separate claims of privacy violations. Of course. Uber now says it had a legal obligation to report the hack to regulators and to drivers whose license numbers were taken. Instead, the company paid hackers $100,000 to delete the data and keep the breach quiet. Uber says it believes the information was never used, but declined to disclose the identities of the attackers. Now, this is where, it's one of those situations where, number one, you are legally required to report this, but instead they were like, hey, that this was I'm upset about this. This is not the kind of news I like to report on, all right? This is not good. Two hackers managed to do this. Two people using a third-party cloud service were able to pull this off, and Uber basically negotiated with the thieves. These people are obviously thieves, right? They broke in, granted, this is a cyber attack, right? But this is the equivalent of breaking into Uber's office and stealing the physical files with all of this information. And Uber says, hey, you know what? Here's $100,000. Let's just forget this ever happened. How do you know for sure that these hackers actually disposed of all of this private information? You don't negotiate with terrorists, all right? This whoever all was involved, and it's my personal opinion that this probably goes far beyond the chief security officer. All right, I'm pretty certain the chief security officer reported this to whoever the higher up would be, in the chain of command. I think we all know where I'm going with this one, but this. Whatever. I don't think it should be his head on the chopping block, if you know what I mean. But, that's why you have people on lower levels. They are the ones that get to, get their heads chopped off when something goes wrong. That's the way business works. It may not be fair, but that's the way it is. None of this should have happened, and I will not make excuses for it, Dara said, who took over as CEO in September. Hackers have successfully infiltrated numerous companies in recent years. The Uber breach, while large, is dwarfed by those at Yahoo, MySpace, Target Corp, Anthem Inc., and Equifax Inc. What's more alarming are the extreme measures Uber took to hide the attack. The breach is the latest explosive scandal Dara inherits from his predecessor, Travis. Kalanick, Uber's co-founder and former CEO, learned of the hack in November of 2016, a month after it took place, the company said. Uber had just settled a lawsuit with the New York Attorney General over data security disclosures and was in the process of negotiating with the Federal Trade Commission over the handling of consumer data. Kalanick declined to comment on the hack. I'm sure. Sullivan spearheaded the response to the hack last year, a spokesman told Bloomberg. Sullivan, a one-time federal prosecutor who joined Uber in 2015, this just shows how crooked things are, right? From Facebook, Inc., has been at the center of much of the discussion making that has come back to bite Uber this year. Bloomberg reported last month that the board commissioned an investigation into the activities of Sullivan's security team. This project, conducted by an outside law firm, discovered the hack and the failure to disclose, Uber said. Here's how the hack went down. Two attackers accessed a private GitHub coding site used by Uber software engineers and then used login credentials they obtained there to access data stored on an Amazon Web Services account that handled computing tasks for the company. From there, the hackers discovered an archive of riders and drivers' information. Later, they emailed Uber asking for money, according to the company. A patchwork of state and federal laws require companies to alert people and government agencies when sensitive data breaches occur. Uber said it was obligated to report the hack of driver license information and failed to do so. At the time of the incident, we took immediate steps to secure the data and shut down further unauthorized access by the individuals. We also implemented security measures to restrict access to and strengthen controls in our cloud-based storage accounts. Uber earned a reputation for flouting regulations in areas where it operated since its founding in 2009. The U.S. has opened at least 5 criminal probes into possible bribes, illicit software, questionable pricing schemes, and a theft of a competitor's intellectual property. People familiar with the matters have said. The San Francisco-based company also faces dozens of civil suits. London and other governments have taken steps toward banning the service, citing what they say is reckless behavior by Uber. In January 2016, the New York Attorney General fined Uber $20,000 for failing to promptly disclose an earlier data breach in 2014. After last year's cyber attack, the company was negotiating with the FTC on a privacy settlement even as it haggled with the hackers on containing the breach, Uber said. The company finally agreed to the FTC settlement 3 months ago without admitting wrongdoing and before telling the agency about last year's attack. The new CEO said his goal is to change Uber's ways. Uber said it informed New York's Attorney General and the FTC about the October 2016 hack for the first time on Tuesday. Dara asked for the resignation of Sullivan and fired Craig Clark, a senior lawyer who reported to Sullivan. The men didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. The company said its investigation found that Sally Yo, the ongoing chief legal officer who has been scrutinized for her responses to other matters, hadn't been told about the incident. Her replacement, Tony West, will start at Uber on Wednesday and has been briefed on the cyber attack. Kalanick was ousted as CEO in June under pressure from investors who said he put the company at legal risk. He remains on the board and recently filled 2 seats he controlled. While I can't erase the past, I can commit on behalf of every Uber employee that we will learn from our mistakes, Dara said in an emailed statement. Uber said it has hired Matt Olson, a former general counsel at the National Security Agency and director of the National Counterterrorism Center, as an advisor. He will help the company restructure its security teams. Uber hired Mandiant, a cybersecurity firm owned by FireEye Inc., to investigate the hack. The company plans to release a statement to customers saying it has seen no evidence of fraud or misuse tied to the incident. Uber said it will provide drivers whose licenses were compromised with free credit protection monitoring and identity protection. So here's how I feel about the event. There's no excuse for this. Absolutely not. This was a huge ordeal, and you don't sweep things like this under the rug, all right? Why they did it, you can kind of understand why they did it. They were already having issues over privacy concerns. They were dealing with the FTC. The last thing they wanted to do is release this information that could possibly cause whatever deal they were working out with the FTC to fall through. But what they have done here is just shown, again, that they can't be trusted. I'm telling you, there's going to come a point where there will be the point of no return for Uber. It's coming. It really is. The federal government, not just our government, governments around the world are getting fed up with Uber's tactics. And I'm not going to sit here and try to defend them. All right, I know a lot of people think I'm an Uber fanboy, or hell, I've been told I'm an Uber employee. Listen, I'm no employee of Uber, all right? I wouldn't be living in the same house if I was. I'd have moved on up to the east side. Listen, I believe Uber's a great service. I believe Lyft is a great service too. I believe they're definitely changing the world. They're changing the way people commute. And if done properly, this could be a great thing for a lot of people, for riders and for drivers. Unfortunately, that's not the direction I see things going. Now, Uber released this 180 days of change, and I am still impressed. I know a lot of people are they're upset about 180 days. They don't feel like enough was done, but I think Uber did a lot, and I believe there's a lot more to come. So for that, I congratulate them for doing something positive for the drivers. But then, on the last day of your 180 days of change, you end up with negative publicity on television, basically saying, hey, drivers, their most valuable asset, drivers' information was hacked. And they paid off the people that hacked them in hopes that the information wouldn't get released. What about us? What about us? My driver's license is on there too. This is not okay. I should have known about this in October of last year. I'm not comfortable thinking that my information or your information can be floating around on a cloud service somewhere. This is not okay. People are hacking and stealing our information, and Uber is paying the people that did it. It's almost like a reward. It's like, hey, good job. Here's $100,000. Come back next year and try it again. This was totally the wrong thing to do, and I really do believe that there's going to come a time in the very near future where the government, at least our government, other governments are already fed up. Their license was revoked in London, so it's happening. They're going to keep pushing, and eventually you're going to end up with governments shutting them down. If Uber continues on the path that they've been on, there is not going to be an Uber left. They will be shut down. Now, I know that this was under a former CEO, and I do believe that the new CEO is working to repair the damage that Travis had caused. And this is, I know it's bad timing, and I know it's bad publicity, but let's be realistic here. He could have just put the wool over his eyes and continued on down the road and not said anything to anyone in hopes it would never come to light. But that's not what happened. So I do believe it shows that Uber is taking a new path, but that does not excuse the decisions that were made under the former CEO. Great for the last 180 days of change, protecting driver ratings. Horrible for finding out that you covered up a huge data breach that affected about every single driver in the U.S. and probably more, and passengers as well. Bad day. Bad day. Do me a favor, comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are. Link to the article will be in the description. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. Stay safe out there, and Uber on.